it's time for you to walk in greatness. Let's murder mediocrity. Slay your goals, live out your dreams. Right now. Inspirational perspective.
But now, what I want to do is I want to get into the 5 tips for being successful in 2022, taking your success to the next level. The first thing that I have to start with, this is not one of the tips, because the first tip is really, truly understanding how to set a goal and the difference between New Year's resolutions, people have resolutions, and a goal. And so I'm going to articulate that. That's the very first tip. But the first thing I want to talk about when it comes to the goal setting process, when it comes to starting a brand new year, is this notion of commitment. Being committed to what it is that we intend to create and what it is that we intend to do. And I want to start there because I had this thought Friday, last day of 2021. I was in the gym and played ball, finished playing ball. I always call playing ball round 1, and then round 2 for me is going to the weight room. And by the way, it took me time to build up the mental fortitude to work out after hooping. Like, it took time to do that. And the reason I say mental fortitude is because I believe that, especially at my age, my body had had enough. And it wasn't until something shifted mentally that if you had to do more, you would do more. So why are you giving yourself this excuse? And I decided, hey, you're at the gym. Why don't you knock it all out so you don't have to come tomorrow? And once I got over that mental barrier and that mental block and committed to this new way of training, right? Round 1 is basketball, which is more aerobic. Round 2 is hitting the weights, which is more strength training. Once I became committed to that and created the routine for that, it's just what I do. So I played 4 games of basketball on Friday and then still went up and hit the weights because it's not just a commitment, but now at this point it's a habit, and I've conditioned my mind to believe that this is just what I do. That probably should be the first tip, mental conditioning, but it's not. Because I honestly believe mental conditioning comes well after you set the goal. So, commitment. Here's the thing I really want you to take away from this very first part of the broadcast as we talk about goal setting. And I shared this in the goal setting masterclass back on December 4th. One of the biggest mistakes I see people make when it comes to the goal setting process, it's to believe that commitment is perfection. So if I commit to the goal and then I have a breakdown with the goal, or I forget about the goal, or I do something that's not aligned with the goal, then the goal is over. And it's the furthest thing from the truth. That just means that you had a misfire. And the opportunity is to realign with the original purpose of the goal. We'll talk about that too in a moment. The original purpose of the goal. One of the reasons people don't achieve their goals is because their goals are not aligned with their purpose. But commitment is not perfection. And so even now, second day of the year, if you made a resolution that you already broke on the first day, you probably won't believe I'm saying this. It's okay. It's okay. Because goals, resolutions, intentions, whatever you want to call them, we're going to define it a bit more later. But whatever you want to call them, what matters more than anything is that you stick with it. That's what matters most, that you're willing to stick with it. I want to get into the 4 reasons that I actually had down here. And the first one is fear and negative self-talk. One of the main reasons that many people don't set goals is because they're afraid of failure. They're afraid of actually introducing the notion of failure into their lives. And so as a result, they don't set goals. And one of the things to remember is that more than 90% of what we hear on a daily basis has negative undertones. So then if I want to create something positive, like I want to better my health, or I want to improve my relationships, I want to get into a romantic relationship, whatever that might be that feels positive. There are so many negative undertones in the media that we watch, in the social media that we scroll. There's so much of that almost every positive thought, almost every positive aspiration that I have is under attack as soon as I have it. The average 18-year-old has already heard no 148,000 times. And if you don't think that at your age, over 18, that hasn't had an impact on you and your ability to tell yourself, yes, we can do this, then you're sorely mistaken. As a matter of fact, 77% of all self-talk is negative. But then we have this thing about other people. I remember years ago I wrote a blog. I need to bring that one up. About the impact of others and how to get past what other people think and the hate. I call it haters. Something about haters. I got to look up the blog myself. It's been years. But a lot of us are afraid of the hate that we'd receive if we were actually as successful as we wanted to be. And so fear and negative self-talk, the first reason many of us don't set goals. Now, the second reason is simple lack of confidence and self-esteem. Because, again, if we view ourselves through this negative lens and we take in all that negative talk, all the no's, the negative conditioning happening in the media, then that goes right at the core of who you be. And so then if I don't have confidence and the self-esteem to believe that I can do the things that I dream, the ideas that I think up, then I'm going to be willing to leave those things on the table. And if a person has the inability to view themselves as a child of God, a creator and a manifester, then they will not push past the feelings of inferiority that actually has them give up on a goal. That's reason number 2. Reason number 3 is what I was talking about initially. A belief that goals don't matter. And in a moment, I'm going to talk about why goals matter so much. And the main reason goals matter is because psychologists have proven that 80% of your positive emotions are sourced by your goals. You set a goal and you're doing work aligned with the goal. You don't even have to accomplish the goal yet. Just being in alignment with the goal sources positive emotions. And so goals matter. And most enthusiasm for life, most enthusiasm that we have comes from a worthy goal. It comes from a worthy goal. And a worthy goal comes from your why, which is why purpose is such a critical component of the goal setting process. I'll talk about that in a little bit. And then reason number 4 that people don't set goals going into New Year's or just period. Reason number 4 is because they simply don't know how. They don't know how to set a goal. Now, that's the part that I want to make sure that no one has that excuse. That's one of the reasons I wrote the book. Slay your goals, 5 tips for achieving any life goal. One of the reasons I wrote this book is because I wanted to ensure that anyone who wanted to set a goal could set that goal. And I don't think it's missed on us that we don't learn goal setting, which still blows my mind. But we don't learn goal setting in school. I would think that goal setting would be something that schools would introduce to young people, like in their preteens, like junior high. They'd be like, hey, like right now we say you can't go to ninth grade if you can't pass your Constitution test, right? A lot of good that's done, because a lot of folks still don't know their rights. I'm not gonna go there. That's a lot of material right there, right here in 2022. But a lot of folks still don't know their rights. And so they say, hey, you need to know the Constitution. I say, teach them the Constitution later, or make it an elective in college. Why does a 13-year-old need to know the Constitution of the United States unless in some kind of way you're looking to achieve something from that, which is likely the case. But what about goal-setting competencies? Like, how would that impact a young person going into the golden years? Like, I mean, the years where they're making critical decisions for themselves as a teenager, as a young adult. How would the competence of goal setting set them up for success? And I think we all can believe that this would actually set a young person up for success, but it's not taught. It's not taught. And so as a result, what happens is most of us live our lives by default, which then gives, if I'm living by default, then what that does is it gives the media outlets of the world power over your life. Because if I don't have intentions, if I don't have goals, if I don't have direction, then I'll receive my direction from the things that I see and the messages that my subconscious is given from those things. I call this the New Year resolution reality. And what I basically talk about is why new is even a thing and why it's important. And this whole concept of new, a new house, a new relationship. Think about, brand new relationships, and how people feel when they're in a brand new relationship that seems like it's going to work. But the notion of new is fresh. In the book, I talk about new as fresh, untouched, modern. And this gives us as human beings an opportunity. New is defined as not having existed before, introduced or discovered recently, or doing something for the first time. So here we are in 2022, two days into 2022. And most people will have, as a result of this, right? Because there's something about us as human beings when we're all in unison agreeing to something, that this is the new year. Then something shifts. And almost always, along with the newness comes some level of expectation. Like some level of expectation regarding what you want to create or even how you see the year. Now, one of the things I've been seeing is this fear. And I talked about one of the 4 reasons people don't set goals is the fear of failure. But this fear of actually declaring into the new year based on the past. So, and then people even telling folks like, hey, don't be talking about 2022. Don't say nothing about, 22 is my new year or my year. Don't be creating any new themes that, in 2022 I'm going to be brand new. Don't say none of that, because we already had 2020 and that kicked our butt. And then came 2021 and basically we were already down and it decided to beat us down a little bit more. So, and this is the perspective that people have, right? And so going into 2022, we shouldn't go in with any expectations. Now, the flaw in this is that as human beings who are children of God, we're creators. And so if we don't powerfully declare what it is that we want to create, then this whole notion of not creating going into 2022 is really an undercurrent of allowing your life to be controlled by the current circumstance. And I'm sorry, I think that is far more dangerous than setting a goal and failing. Far more dangerous. And here's the reason why. Because if I'm the captain of my fate, then that means if I'm unwilling to set goals, if I'm unwilling to set myself to a certain direction, then I'm actually allowing the powers that be to move my life in the way that they will. I'm actually allowing current circumstance as it comes to blow me in whatever direction that it intends to blow me. And the beauty of setting a goal, is that you have direction no matter what comes. The wind blows to the east and I'm supposed to go to the west. Then I point my boat into the wind and I row against the current. That's the beauty of a goal. Maybe I don't get as far as I intended to, but I'm not blown off course. That's the beauty of a goal. And if we don't set goals, if we fall into this idea, this deception that aligning my life to the Creator's purpose for my life and setting goals that way is not His intention, then you will be blown completely off course. It is up to you. Now, I want to go somewhere real quick. And this is, once I'm past this notion that goals don't matter. So maybe there's someone listening right now and say, okay, Linal, you've convinced me enough. You convinced me. And so I'm down to set a goal. I want to set a goal. I want to create some intention. And by the way, if you're new to this, then I always suggest you don't want to go in setting 10 plus goals, right? Many people do that, and that will confuse you. 2 to 3 things, like the most important things that you can think of for your life is how you want to go about the goal setting process. Now, how do you set a goal? This is tip number 2. So tip number 1 is you have to understand that resolutions are no different than just small ideas, and it's incredibly important for you to write down your goal. That's tip number 1. Right? So once you're in a place of saying goals matter, then it's incredibly important that you understand the difference between a resolution, which is more so an idea. I'm going to lose weight in 2022. Has no emotive statements. One of the things we talked about in the masterclass is the power of bringing emotion to anything, any goal that you want to set. Bringing the experience you intend to have as a result of accomplishing that goal and starting with the end in mind. One of the major reasons why people are not successful in the goal setting process is because they're not clear around what they're looking to create. So we've been told conventionally, right, through the SMART goal system, that, you set a specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, time-bound goal. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's solid. But that doesn't always work. That works well in the professional place, where surviving or making money is the overall outcome. Because we associate money with our survival, and so we'll push for things in that arena that we normally won't push for. But when it comes to personal goals, like a goal like improve my health and lose weight, that, by the way, takes time. You just don't turn your health around overnight. You don't just lose 30 pounds overnight. And so this takes consistent effort and attention and focus when you're looking at the goal setting process. And one of the reasons why many people fail when it comes to setting goals like this is, one, you have to remember that any goal is going to take some level of commitment and sacrifice. So that's one part. But I believe that part of the reason we don't commit and we're not making the sacrifice is because we're not clear on where we're looking to go. We don't necessarily see in our mind's eye the person we intend to be or the life we intend to create. An individual that wants to be, I was just having this conversation with the relationship expert. And an individual who cannot see themselves, like in their mind's eye, let's go back to the mind's eye again. I cannot see myself in a healthy, loving relationship. If I can't see it clearly in my mind, then it becomes almost impossible for me to create in my life. Everything starts in the mind. So if we take this notion, like looking at the goal setting process, if we take this notion, that means step 2, one of the most critical things you must do when setting a goal is clearly define what success looks and feels like. Clearly define what success looks and feels like. So you want to be a millionaire. Most people stop there. I want to be a millionaire. I'm going to make my first million in 2022. And they'll stop there. And then 2023 will come and, people play you like, I thought you was going to be a millionaire this year. And you'd be like, yeah, I forgot I even said that. But one of the reasons you forgot you said it is because you never got really clear on what it would feel like to be a millionaire. What your life would look like if you were a millionaire. And if you get clear on that, by the way, there's resistance to that level of clarity because that makes you discontent with where you are, which is another great way to inspire yourself to push and commit to a goal. But if you can't see it up here, then you don't create it. There's nothing pulling you towards the goal. Clearly defining success is so incredibly important. Knowing the vision, knowing what it's going to make you feel like, and also having an idea of what life would be like from that place. So what would it be like to be in a loving, connected, intimate, and passionate relationship? You actually have to give yourself to the thought and to the emotions of that becoming a reality if you truly want to achieve it. And see, the thing is, going to relationship, if my trauma won't even let me think about it because I don't want to romanticize something that is not possible, or I've never experienced, then I never experience it. And this is the really delicate balance when it comes to the goal setting process. I'm looking at the Facebook stream here, and someone said millionaire equal different mindset. And really what it equals is millionaire mindset. You want to be a millionaire? You clearly define what being a millionaire looks like and feels like in your mind, in your brain. And when you meditate on that and visualize that, what happens is you begin to develop the mindset. One of the places we mess up with the goal setting process is how. And how is a distraction. You just set the goal. And then if you say, well, I don't know what it feels like, then I would say I need to make it my business to run into millionaires in 2022. And then ask them, what does it feel like to be a millionaire? What does it feel like to have that level of financial means? And then let them articulate it to you. And then you take what they're sharing with you and you make it your own. And I'll tell you, you go around feeling like that, visualizing yourself feeling like that, eventually you will become one. This is just how it works. This is just how it works. And I think the problem with this is it seems too simple. And it seems too simple when you think about it. And then to execute it is too complicated. And what I mean by too complicated is you have to stay committed to that goal. That's what complicates it. One of the major mistakes people make in the goal setting process is that they believe that writing down a goal only is writing down the resolution or the intention. But writing down a goal should include the emotions you will feel, because every time you read that goal, it will evoke emotion and remind you of why you should push past the resistance that will indeed present itself. Always present itself whenever you're looking to create intentionally. So that's tip number one. Now, the other thing I want to say real quick to just, further make sure we understand is that we also don't want to generalize our goals, because generalizing confuses the brain. And let me give you an example of what I mean. Because sometimes people say, well, what do you want to create in 2022? I want more money. Well, so then you find a $20 bill on the ground, and subconsciously your brain says, we achieved the goal. You've made more money. You got more money. And you'll say, yeah, I always set goals, and I never achieve them. It's like, well, you really didn't set a clear goal. And you probably did achieve the goal. Some folks say, I want to be in a relationship. And then they say, why am I never in a good relationship? I can never achieve that goal. But did you actually articulate that you wanted a good, connected, loving, passionate, intimate relationship? Did you ever say that? Or did you, I just want to be in a relationship? Well, okay, you've been in a few relationships. Matter of fact, you had 3 relationships last year. Okay, they all broke down, but you achieved the goal. You achieved the goal 3 times. And see, this is the thing. We don't realize how powerful we are. Many of us actually create the things that we say. The problem is that we didn't say it specifically enough. We didn't say it specifically enough. So I want to raise at work. It was like, okay, you'll get a raise. Might be 1.5%, but you'll get a raise. You didn't say how much you wanted. I want to get a promotion at work. And then they change it. They promote you with no pay. Well, you didn't say exactly what you wanted. And so be like, I didn't achieve the goal. Well, yeah, maybe you did. And this is why we want to be incredibly specific in the goal setting process. Tip number 2 is intentional accountability. This is the tough one, man. Intentional accountability. Here's why intentional accountability is tough. Because it means you have to be vulnerable. You have to be vulnerable and willing to get support from someone else in the goal setting process. And one of the things I hear often is, well, you're not supposed to tell anybody your goal. You're supposed to keep your goal to yourself. And there's also some truth to that. I would agree. I think when you look at it, let's put a whole and complete sentence around intentional accountability. You don't just tell anybody about your goal, comma. You tell someone who is aligned with the goal you look to achieve about the goal, and you ask them to hold you accountable. That's the piece. See, if you telling your broke cousin that you have a big financial goal for 2022, then you get what's coming to you from that cousin. Okay? You get the hate, you get the disdain, you get all that's your fault. That's not the person to be your intentional accountability partner. You know Pookie been broke since day one. He ain't never had no money. He don't never keep no money. Why would you tell him about your financial goal? And so when it comes to that, yes, keep your mouth shut. That's not what you want to talk about. Okay? That's, you might want to ask him, hey, what you sip on last night? That might be a better conversation. Okay? Because he'll be excited. Pookie will be excited about that conversation. Oh man, I opened up this new bottle for the new year, right? Now, that's a good conversation for him. But talking about what you want to create in 2022, you might want to save that for auntie that's inspired. Y'all get where I'm going? So intentional accountability and the wisdom to know who to bring into the goal to hold you accountable. Now, there's something that I really want to make sure that we get here. There's research that says that you are much more likely to achieve your goals when you write them down and share that goal with a qualified friend or colleague. I say qualified. And the other thing is that you have to remember when you have an accountability partner that anytime you find yourself no longer wanting to be accountable to that person, it typically is not that person. It's you and your relationship with that goal. Because if you begin to slack off on that goal, then anything that accountability partner has to say to you about that is going to be triggering. And it should be. It should trigger you back into action. But some of us don't like being held accountable. The reason I created the Slayer Goals community is because the more I moved and the more I began to work with people, and here's what would happen. Just to kind of be straight and transparent. When my coaching business began to take off, most of my clients didn't look like me. They didn't look like the people of my community. And I would, and I want you to really hear this, right? Because I firmly believe that one of the reasons why we are not as successful as we could be in our community is because we are not into investing in ourselves. And when I say investing in ourselves, I'm not talking about buying yourself a new pair of shoes, a new pair of boots, a brand new car, and a bigger house. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about investing in your mind and investing in your development, investing in your business. I've given the figures before that my wife and I, in a given year, will spend well over $30,000 to $40,000 in self-improvement. That means a coach for her, a coach for me, conferences, self-improvement, books, online courses, virtual courses, all those different things. I've shared that with you guys. I've been transparent about that. I think for some reason, even when I share that people believe they can usurp the process by not investing in themselves. It's going to require not only financial resources to be successful. You ever heard the saying, money makes money? It's going to require financial investment in yourself, but it's also going to require a sacrifice of time. You have to be willing to invest the time in learning what you need to know. You just must, if you want to be successful, if you want to really take yourself to the next level. So I'm coaching, and I'm realizing, and I said that because people outside our community get this. All right? There's a reason why when you go into J&J's Fish, they don't look like you, and all of them cousins and brothers. They're investing in one another. They're investing in themselves. Okay? There's a reason why when you go in the gas station, very few gas stations have owners that look like us. There's a reason why very few of us own the grocery stores that we shop in, that other communities own these groceries. There's a reason for that. And one of the main reasons I believe that we continue to stay where we are is our refusal to invest in ourselves. And then most of us, if we do invest in ourselves in a season, we come out the cocoon as a butterfly and we believe that we've achieved everything we need to achieve in that moment. And we fly away, never to go back into the cocoon again to go to the next level. And then you believe that you're better than everyone else because, I'm going to tell you something, in our community, if you're making $75,000, if you're making six figures, you're killing it. And it's time out for us to believe that you're actually killing it. Some of us are not successful and we will not be millionaires because we spend all of our time making six figures. And we're so proud of making six figures, we don't even aspire to make more. So what am I saying here? What I'm saying is there's a need for investment. And I want to be clear. I want to be clear that I also know that there's some of us that just don't have it. And this is the reason I created the Slayer Goals community. Now, tip number 3, taking purposeful action. Action, action, action. Oh, man, there's something. Action is powerful. Let's start there. And because action is so powerful, like even now, everything I just said, somebody out there in Radio Land is listening saying, wow, this is what I always needed. I'm going to work with Linal Harris in this community. They just said that to themselves, but they haven't taken action. They're like, I'm going to look at it tomorrow. Or I'm going to look at it after I get done cooking. Or I'm going to look at it after the show. Like, and this is what we do. And this is one of the reasons why many of us don't accomplish our goals, because we defer the action. We defer taking the action that we know we need to take. Let me tell you something. My life transformed when I really began to understand the power of taking action. And at this point, I would say I'm probably an action addict, because I understand the power of action. Oh, I have an intention. What's the action to take along with that intention to put it into motion? Because action is that powerful. Here's the other thing. You always want to be action oriented, because the more action oriented you are, the more clear you are on your fears. Because if you're willing to take action, then that means you're willing to navigate your fears, which means you're always in conversation about what you're afraid of. And when you're frozen, when you're not taking action, typically it's due to fear, because fear freezes. And the best remedy for fear is to take action in the face of that fear to get unstuck. So let me give you an example. I actually use this one in the book. Let's say you have a home buying goal. A few people on Facebook said over the break that they have goals to buy property or homes this year. So let's say you have a home buying goal. And for a first-time home buyer, the risk of buying a house is real, and the fear of buying a house is real. To this day, I can remember sweating at the closing table on the first piece of property I bought. I was like, I can't believe I'm doing this. And then, of course, they put the schedule of 30 years of payments for thousands of dollars in front of you. And of course, they're asking you for a big down payment check. And at that point in my life, it was everything I had. And I said, I'm giving these people everything I have. And I was sweating. I was nervous. My heart was beating. I'm signing this. And they like, okay, now sign this. And I'm like, why am I signing so many papers? Like, oh, man, what am I doing? Is this the thing to do? And then they give you a key for all that money. And then, they, the title person smiles at you and says, Mr. Harris, congratulations. You're the owner of a new home. And you break a smile because you know that's what you're supposed to do. But inside you're thinking, and any other home buyer, I know you had this is experience, right? You break a smile because that's what you're supposed to do, but your heart is beating and you're like, what have I just done? And is this it? And is this the house I truly wanted, the piece of property I was supposed to buy? All the questions begin to hit your mind. Fear is real. So before you ever get to that point, there's so much fear because all the things that come to mind are the prospect of paying a mortgage, the taxes, the utilities, and the hidden costs that you might not be aware of. Home buying can be incredibly scary. So then what happens is the focus becomes the fear and not the goal. Again, we're talking about why action is so important. So then all of a sudden, my thoughts become fear thoughts, not goal-oriented thoughts. Do I really want to buy a home? What's wrong with the place that I'm renting right now? This is more sustainable. They take care of everything. When my sink breaks, they fix it. What if buying a home? What if I buy a home and I can't afford to make the mortgage payment? Oh man, what if the house has problems and I just put all my money down on the house and I can't get those problems fixed? And the thing to notice is that none of the thoughts, none of the fears I just expressed about buying a home have anything to do with taking action on the goal itself. This is where we get stuck in the goals. Same thing with relationships. What if this man don't love me? What if he's just using me? What if she just wants me for my money? Like, all the fears get in the way, and we begin to obsess about the fears, and we don't take purposeful action. We don't take purposeful action. There's a secret to accomplishing your goals, and the number one secret to accomplishing your goals is knowing your why. Many people who are afraid to purchase a home, if they know the why for purchasing the home, why it's going to be so important, they'll push past the fear. Our family is growing. We need more space. We need this home as a base to grow, right? They know their why. A lot of people, when it comes to their health, you would think they know the why, but typically it's because the doctor said so, or because I just believe I should do this, or because I want to look better or feel better. But you need to go deeper than that into why that thing really matters to you. This is the number one secret of the goal setting process, you all, knowing your why. Nietzsche said, he who has a why can bear almost any how. He who has a why can bear almost any how. And your why is sourced by your life's purpose. Again, I firmly believe that purpose is at the middle of it all. Here's what happens with many people who set goals and don't achieve them. Because they don't know their purpose, the purpose is unknown. It's out here somewhere. And so they don't know their why, but they're setting goals. And so you're setting goals without knowing who you really are, which means the goals are likely misaligned. And this is why year after year, you've been setting goals. 2019, 2020. And let me tell you something about 2020 real quick. There are a group of people that got better in 2020. There are a group of people that got richer in 2020. There are a group of people who got healthier in 2020. And then they took that momentum right into 2021. And they made 2021 an even better year. And let me tell you something, those people, they don't shy away from declaring powerfully into 2022. Because circumstance doesn't scare them. Situations, unknown situations don't scare them because they live their life aligned with their purpose, and they set goals aligned with that purpose, and they know no matter what comes, they'll be able to navigate it because that is why they're on the planet. This is the beauty of purpose. Okay, let's go to tip number 4 in the goal setting process. And this is more logical. And for those of you who know this tip, you probably, again, need to explore it. But you have to ask yourself a question when you begin to set goals. And that question is, what will you stop? What will you stop? And I talk about this in the book. Again, you can download the book for free at slayyourgoals.com. I talk about this in the book. And I call it a very simple formula. And the formula is as follows. Start something plus stopping something, equivalent to what was started, by the way, equals balance. Equals balance. Here's what happens for most of us. We'll start the new year right now. Friday, I was in the gym. This is where I was going when I was talking about the gym. I started talking about pushing myself and didn't even realize that what I want to talk about is how empty the gym was on December 31st. Okay? The gym was empty, y'all. Tomorrow morning, I already know what's going to happen. Matter of fact, I might just go a little later. Because when I walk into the gym, all the treadmills are going to be filled with newcomers. And all the weightlifting material is going to be scattered, peppered about the gym by newcomers looking to build muscles in 2022 and increase their endurance in 2022. Now, I might sound a little facetious about this, and here's the reason why. Because as a goal-setting expert, one of the things I understand about these new resolutioners is that most of them are going to quit in 14 days. That's the data. Most of them will be done with their resolution in 14 days. Somebody's going to do it for 14 days and look in the mirror and say, I don't see results, and quit. Because we live in this instant microwave society where everything comes quickly, and things in the gym just don't come quick like that. There are going to be others who simply forget. They're going to set a goal, and they'll be reading the goal, talking about the goal for the first 7 days, and then something will happen that will take their attention away. And then after it takes their attention, they will never revisit the goal. And then maybe in November, something will happen that reminds them. They go, oh, man, I said I was going to do that this year. See, that's why I don't set goals. And that will be where they land on default. Here's the final tip that I want to share with you all. If you really want to be successful with the goals that you set going into 2022, then you need to make a practice of affirming your goals daily. I say this in the book as a quote, but the easiest way to abandon a goal is to forget that you even created it. And so what do I mean by creating affirmations? Well, you actually write down And this is something I'm going to do in the 30-day challenge with Slay Your Goals members. There's a lot of reasons why you want to be a Slay Your Goals member. But what we're going to do is I'm going to actually help them create one-page plans for what it is that they want to create in their lives. See, here's the thing. In the 21st century, your mind is under assault. It's under assault by commercials, by social media, what you see other folks doing. It's under assault by the mass media when you turn on the television. And if you're not intentionally programming your mind aligned with what it is that you want to achieve every day, then it's going to be difficult to win your game. And hear me, win your game. If you want to play your game at optimal levels, then that means you have to be reading your playbook every day. This morning, people are going to turn on the television and watch elite athletes play football. And these athletes will line up and they will run and execute on their playbook almost flawlessly. And the reason that they can line up with the quarterback, either on defense or on offense, and they can line up and call numbers, blue 42, 88, 88, hut, hut. They even know on what hut to go. Hut, hut, hut. But they know. Why? Because every day they're in the playbook. Every day they're looking at how they're going to play their game. And here's the thing about these elite athletes. Their playbook, pages and pages and pages and pages, play after play after play. And they got to look at this thing every day. And all I'm telling you is that if you have 3 or 4 goals, if you want to be successful, the formula for that success with those goals to ensure they stay top of mind is just to read it in the morning and read it at night. And folks want to be elite, and they tell me, Linal, that's so hard. That's so hard. I've even had clients who told me, Linal, this is difficult. And I say, okay, read your goals right now. And they'll read the goals to me. I'll have my stopwatch going. I have yet to run across a client that for them to read their goals and affirm their goals, it took over 2 minutes. We live in a society now where everything else is more important than what you intend to create for yourself. And tip number 5 in the goal setting process is just simple. If you read your goals every day, and if you affirm those goals every day, you will create those goals. It's simple. I mean, really, can you give up 4 minutes of your day for your stuff, for your life, to improve your life and do what it is that you intend to do? Can you do that? See, because if you can't, then you got to start asking yourself different questions like, man, do I truly want to be successful? Do I really want to go to the next level? Do I really want to create these things? Are these the goals that really excite me? You got to start asking yourself those type of questions then. Read and affirm your goals. Now I'm going to end with this. And this is how I end the book. Again, you can download the book, Slay Your Goals, at slayyourgoals.com for free. Here's what every goal setter, everyone that listened to me this morning, you were inspired by what I shared with you today. If you're bothered by it and it upsets you, then it just wasn't for you, and I apologize. Actually, no. It should be for you, and I don't apologize. You need to wake up. Let me reframe that. Because we're talking about your life here. Here's what every goal setter needs to know. Sometimes we get caught up in that cliche apologetic language. That's just what happened to me. And I'm like, no, I don't apologize. This is intentional. And I hope, if you are upset, I hope you're really upset, because that means that something triggered you, and that's good. It'll stick with you for a while. And then maybe you'll join the ranks of the goal setters. Here's what every goal setter going into 2022 must know. And this is what most people won't tell you. But I'm going to tell you. The path to the success of your goals is not going to be a straight line. You're going to have problems. You're going to have breakdowns. I started the show with commitment. I'm going to end it with commitment. Commitment is not perfection. Commitment is not perfection. You're going to set a goal to eat a certain way, and you're going to break it this week. You're going to break it tomorrow. You're going to break it today. Okay? Things are going to happen that get in the way of the goal that you intend to set. And the key is not giving up when these things happen. That's the key. Often we look at, oh man, I ran into a pothole on this goal walk in life. That's a problem. And to you, I say, no, it's not a problem. Running into a pothole means that you were moving forward. And you should celebrate the forward motion. Some of you are going to run into virtual walls in the goal-setting process, walls of resistance in the goal-setting process. And you'll say, does this mean that I should abandon the goal? Is this the right goal for me? Why is it so hard? And to you, what I want to say is, no, if the wall hurt, that means you had momentum. And so dust yourself off and get back to the same speed you were going before so you can smack into the next wall with that same amount of velocity. Because that means that you were making progress.